Will you please stand for the reading from the gospel this morning? This morning's gospel reading comes from book of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. This is the Great Commission. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." This is the reading of the gospel.
Thanks be to God.
Well, at least I'm not the only one who doesn't read the bulletins. Have a seat.
When the solid ground is falling out from underneath my feet, between the black skies and my red eyes, I can barely see. And when I'm feeling like I've been let down by my friends and my family, I can hear the rain reminding me, in the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. When my hopes and dreams are far from me and I'm running out of faith, I see the future I picture slowly fade away. And when the tears of pain and heartache are pouring down my face, I find my peace in Jesus' name. In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. When they let me go and I just don't know how I'm gonna make ends meet, I did my best, now I'm scared to death that we might lose everything. And when the sickness takes my child away and there's nothing I can do, my only hope is to trust in you. I trust you, Lord, in the eye of the storm. You remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. You remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. Glory. Now you got it.
I got kind of excited and jumped up. So my husband said to me, he said, "This is your story. All you got to do is just tell it." So here's our story, you guys. I'll start off, and then Taylor's going to tell her part of it. First of all, I think this all started with a relationship, and that relationship was about 40 years ago. I met a teenager. I'm always meeting teenagers that affect me. This teenager was in Fort Worth, Texas. Her name was Julie Miller. We were very young. I was a lot older than she, but we were very young. We have remained friends all these years. Now, we've raised 10 kids between the two of us. We've been educated. We've done all kinds of things, but the Lord continues to bring Julie Miller and I back together. About 5 years ago, Julie Miller became the administrator for a foundation called Adara. And she contacted some of her closest friends about supporting children in Ethiopia, Texas. Well, Ethiopia, Texas. Africa. Obviously, I didn't study geography either. But I will tell y'all, Ethiopia is over 12,000 miles from Hondo, Texas. It's a long, long ways. But Julie, as I say, became the administrator, so she starts pulling in all of us friends. And Bill Fritsch and I have supported a little boy. His name is Abraham. You'll see him in just a little bit. But I want to tell you just a little bit about Adara. And it's kind of funny because I think Adara started with a little lady, just like myself. Somebody invited her to go to Africa. Her husband wouldn't go. She goes to Africa, and she falls in love with these Ethiopian children. She goes back to Fort Worth and immediately takes her husband back. She fell in love with children, and I would say they're the poorest of the poor, y'all. These children are fed off of a trash dump, the biggest trash dump you've ever seen in your life. It's like 80 to 90 football fields long and 4 to 5 stories high. In America, we've never, remember we dump, the trash is it goes underground for us. We never see it. Well, this trash dump just continues to build. These children, their mamas, what they do is they strap their babies to their back, and they dig in the trash dump. They dig for food, they dig for clothing, and they dig for things that they might possibly sell. Okay, so this lady and her husband fall in love with these children, and they're like, what can we do? They're just two little Texas people from Fort Worth. They go back and start Adara. Now, Julie is hired as the administrator of Adara. Okay, I think the main thing, I just want to, for my own sake, I went through looking at. I just want you to get a picture of how different this is from Hondo, Texas. Number one, Africa is 3 times the size of the United States. I had one time Bill Fritsch and I in Boston, we were in a globe, and I could not even believe how much bigger Africa was than the United States. It's huge. Okay, but here's the other thing. Addis Ababa, the town where we were, which is the capital of Ethiopia, it's half the size of San Antonio in square miles, half the size, but it's got over 3 times the amount of people. Okay? There are people everywhere. There are people and animals and cars everywhere you look. At one point I thought, it's like my skin was just crawling because there were so many people around you. Okay, the other thing is the average income per month is $300. That means if it's the average, that means some people make less than $300 a month. Some people make more, $300 a month. Ethiopia has 102 million people versus Texas has 28 million. Okay, think about that. There's a lot of people. That's where I'm going with. There's a lot of people. Now, the other thing is I was looking up because I think for Tayler and I, coming from Hondo, Texas, there's very few churches like this, okay? 43.5% of them are Orthodox Catholic. 34% are Muslims, and then only 13% are Protestant, as we are. The thing that also got me was Tayler and I visited with some people, and come to find out, in the Orthodox Church, they speak, the liturgy is in Ge'ez, which is a language kind of like Latin was to the Roman Catholic. Maybe you remember, in my lifetime, I remember that they only spoke Latin in the liturgy at the Catholic Church. Well, they speak Ge'ez in the Orthodox Church. Now, the whole thing is, the people do the liturgy. They are religious, okay? But the thought of a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that's kind of foreign to them, okay? The other thing is that one of the things I observed, Tayler, we did a vacation Bible school, a couple of days in a public school. And the good news is Tayler was with the kids. The bad news for me is I was the gatekeeper. There were kids that wanted to come that were troublemakers, okay? And so I got to stand at the gate, and I that was the only time I was nervous when we were in Ethiopia. And more than anything, I sat there looking. It was a group of little boys. They were probably 12, 13, and 14 years old. And I thought, they were hungry. They were poorly dressed. They were angry. And I thought, they're easy pickings. They're easy pickings for ISIS, okay? I don't know. I mean, I was nervous at that point. Okay, so Gary's got some pictures. We're going to do, and I've been praying for the electronics to work. Last time Julie was here, this didn't. I want to show you a short clip on Adara, and then we'll show you some personal pictures. Maybe.
Ethiopia, a land of contrasts, historically rich and ethnically diverse. And nowhere is this diversity more apparent than in its capital city of Addis Ababa, a sprawling city of more than 6 million. Corrugated tin shacks lie in the shadows of modern high-rise hotels. Streets are lined with vendors selling everything from freshly slaughtered meat to the latest fashions. Horse-drawn carts share the highways with luxury cars and a wide array of antiquated vehicles of all shapes and sizes. Addis is a rapidly modernizing city, but like any major urban center, there are those who find themselves struggling to make ends meet. High unemployment and exploding populations have had their impact on the less fortunate, and many struggle to provide the basics for their families: food, shelter, and education. These families are at risk, and their children's futures are in jeopardy. But the Adara Foundation is out to make a difference, one family at a time. By providing help and true hope in the form of life-sustaining and future-changing programs, one of our goals is personal dignity through self-sustainability. By focusing on the most vulnerable, Adara has created a multi-dimensional ministry model that provides a reliable source of income for these families and a safe environment for their non-school-aged children to learn, grow, and thrive. Currently, 110 preschool children receive free healthcare, education, food, and clothing in our daycare. Their parents are free to work, knowing that their children are cared for in a safe and healthy environment. But in most cases, these parents, mostly women, have no jobs. So Adara is creating income-generating activities designed to provide them with viable, long-term employment opportunities. Currently, 70 mothers work in our mill, 2 bakeries, and in the manufacturing of handmade jewelry. The self-worth that comes from being able to provide is a powerful influence on these women and a high priority for Adara. And so are children, which is why Adara has partnered with a local public school providing 200 of their most needy students with a nutritious lunch 5 days a week. For some, their only meal of the day. It's difficult to fill the mind of a child whose stomach is empty. And it's virtually impossible to dream of a better tomorrow when you can't imagine where your next meal will come from. The needs are great, sometimes overwhelming. But with God, all things are possible. The unimaginable becomes achievable. And through our partnerships with churches, organizations, families, and individuals around the world, the Adara Foundation has created a growing network of difference makers. They provide the funding, resources, and volunteers necessary to implement and maintain programs on the other side of the world. The testimonies of those who have sponsored families, paid for school lunches, purchased jewelry, prayed, and donated both their time and money are the greatest form of promotion that we could ever ask for. Together, we are making a difference. Together, we are changing lives. Together, we are bringing help and true hope to the glory of God and the good of His children.
I think there's going to be a few more of our personal pictures, hopefully. I laughed. Nothing says Ethiopia like a mosquito net. Tayler and I, the first night, oh my gosh, we didn't know about mosquito nets, and the first night, there's mosquitoes in Ethiopia. Okay, show us the next one. This is the trash dump. And really, we're not supposed to take pictures. Ethiopia does not want you to know. Now go to the next one. They don't want you to know that this exists. Again, it's 89 to 90 football fields. Okay, go to the next one. And then we've laughed, chicken dinner. You see people walking down the street with chickens, or they love goats. We even saw a man with a cow in his SUV, taking it home to eat. Okay, go to the next one. And oh yeah. So you see, there's animals everywhere. You tell them.
Okay. So they have lots of goats, and they don't brand them there, so they spray paint them. And so to tell which one's which, they like spray paint a different part of their body. So it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay, so this little girl we were at Adara, and she attached herself to Tayler. She would not let Tayler alone. Okay, go to the next one. She loved Tayler. And this was a little girl from Colorado. There was a group that joined up with us on Saturday, and Tayler and this little American girl loved each other. Okay, go to the next one. And this is when we're doing Vacation Bible School. Tayler and I met Life. Her name translates to life. She's a young African woman that learned to speak English in 2 years. She had grown up in the country and moved to Hobbs as a young, teenager. But she learned English by watching movies. Okay, she spoke. It was great. But anyway, and she's going to be our link. We're going to be doing some projects in the future tense, and Life is going to be our link to the country around Hobbs. Okay, next one. Okay, this is one of those that I Instagram. We had a traffic jam. Horses. Can you see them? I know it's kind of light. Of course, I was taking it from the car. Okay, next one. And I don't know if you can tell, but that baby's crying. And the reason she's crying is she is scared to death of the white people. She would have, it was terrible. But she was so cute. And the young lady on the left is the RN that works for Adara. She had been herself an orphan and was never, her mama put her in the orphanage when she was like 8 years old because her mother could not support her 3 children. Well, the mother never came back for her. And as it turns out, I think Americans supported her through the orphanage, and eventually she's now a nurse and she's a social worker and she works for Adara. She's a beautiful woman. Okay, next. And this is us about to leave. Thank you, Lord. We were that's Julie Miller and Tayler together. And the last one. And this is Abraham. This is our baby that we supported. Now, Abraham's mother died when he was about a year old. She had cervical cancer. His dad left. He went with another woman, left. So that's the grandmother. And Julie, of course, they have no clue who supports them or what. Julie just said to them that I pray for them. They were, look how cute they are. Abraham, Paige, our daughter, said he looks mischievous. Okay, so here's Tayler.
Oh, okay. I wrote a lot of things, but I won't say all of them because Nan covered some of them. But Hadley wanted me to say hello from their language. So how to say hello in their language is salamno, and how to say goodbye is ciao. So those are the only words I really knew.
and tell them about Julie and her message this morning, what she said.
Oh, and then Julie texted both of us this morning, and to be like brave or strong is a Zeus. So she texted a Zeus to us this morning. So anyway, traveling to Africa has always been a dream of mine. I guess you could say God placed that desire in my heart. I always have heard about the risks and the dangers that come with Africa. People would tell me that I could just stay in the States, specifically my dad, and share the gospel there. But I did respect those people, and I still do. But how can I not obey the life that God has called me to? I know it would be better to stay in the States. After all, you can't go wrong with America, but I just can't. The point I'm trying to get across is that I'm not called to live in a way that's comfortable and play it safe. God doesn't want us to live that way. He moves us and pushes us to places that aren't always going to be comfortable or enjoyable. If we lived like that, we wouldn't be growing. We wouldn't receive the blessings that come when you completely surrender your life to God. For instance, it's not comfortable when I'm the only one that prays in the cafeteria. It's not comfortable when I don't get invited to things because of my beliefs. And it's not comfortable speaking at church. but it's fun. It can be scary, but God calls us to live lives that are set apart and different from our peers. Deuteronomy 7:6 says, "For you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for his own possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth." We can't live our lives as if we try to place every issue under bubble wrap, like the landfill. People need to know about that. And I'm not saying that you have to travel to a foreign country. I just think it's important to follow and obey to what God is calling you to do. So this dream of mine became a reality in a short amount of time. It was definitely a gift from God. After months of packing and asking lots of questions from Julie, we finally left to go to the airport. Now, this was my first time to ever be in an airport, or even on a plane for that matter. So, plus the flight from Dallas to Dubai is roughly 14 hours. But I honestly wasn't scared, and I did not get sick on the plane, so that was a huge blessing. I'm glad I got to see Dubai. That was really interesting, but it definitely was a lot different from Ethiopia. Once we arrived in Ethiopia, I felt so alive. Ethiopia is a wonderful place, but it is clear that these people need Jesus, and they need us to tell them about him. Ethiopia is filled with extreme poverty, and it suffers from massive pollution in the atmosphere. I know that Africa is not as pretty as Hawaii or the Bahamas. However, the people that live in Africa are truly the most beautiful people I've ever seen. They are so loving and so caring. They truly know what it means to love your neighbor as yourself. Some of the most memorable moments include the time we went to the school. We taught the kids a short Bible lesson, and then we all played games. They loved Simon Says and Heads Up, 7 Up, and the kids loved every minute of it. I never saw one kid complain or get frustrated. They were all so eager to learn and to spend time with us. I loved it when some little girls would braid my hair and kiss my cheeks. But it was pure joy when we came back the next day and all the kids would yell your name and come running up to you. I loved every minute we spent there. It was truly amazing. However, even though we all had a good time, it was still hard for me to realize how poor these precious kids were. Most of their clothes were torn or had holes in them, and their shoes were also in pretty bad shape. It's really hard seeing that and knowing that I have a closet full of nice clothes and nice shoes, and these kids probably don't even have a closet. Another thing that affected me greatly was when we saw the dump, and Nan kind of told us already about that. So I'll skip over that part. But anyway, I am a person who is very eager to help in any way I can. But I learned some valuable ways of helping without receiving all the glory. A lot of times people will ask for money or beg for food, but you don't want to give them anything because it wouldn't be fair if you gave something only to them and not to the other people. I learned if you just randomly give stuff to people, you will look like Santa Claus. Now, I certainly don't want to come across that way because I want to give all the glory to Christ. So I learned that's best to support nonprofit organizations that are playing a huge role in serving in a Christ-like manner. I'm not saying it's bad to give things to people in need, but you don't want to send them the wrong message. One big lesson I got out of this whole experience was that the best gift that you could give to anybody is your time. As a follower of Christ, it's more valuable to me to build relationships with people and not just spend 5 minutes with them and give them a Bible and some money. Give the people Bibles, but tell them about it and just talk with them. The gift of time is far more precious than a gift card or a video game. And God is just working in so many ways out there, and I know God is just so alive there. And through the ministry of Dara and Buna, the coffee over there, you should go buy some, by the way. But it's $12. So, without further ado, be the change you want to see in the world and spread the love of Jesus everywhere you go.
Okay, so let me just, when we met with Pastor Joyce, we were talking about the Apostle Paul, and that he said from 1 Corinthians, we are all servants through whom you did believe, and to each as the Lord gave an assignment. I planted, Apollos watered, but God caused to grow. So it is not the one who plants, it's not the one who waters, who is anything, but God is the one who causes the growth. I just feel like I just want to emphasize, yes, we got to go, and it was wonderful. But every one of us have an assignment in this deal. Julie Miller accepted Adara as the administrator. I mean, she gives her life to Adara. She goes over like 4 times a year. That's not easy, you guys. Chris Dickens heard this child about Africa. She heard her heart. And one time in our small group, I mentioned Julie Miller. Well, you know, Chris Dickens is like, well, let's just make it happen, okay? And I thought, oh, okay. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of, I was going through all the excuses of why we couldn't make it happen. Well, Chris, y'all know Chris. She did it. Anyway, and then the other part is just y'all allowed Julie to come and speak to you, to make her presentation here. She was over the top touched by this church, okay? She's from a very big church in Fort Worth. And one of the things she said is they've never sat her down and prayed over her. We did that. New Fountain Methodist Church prayed over Julie. The minute we got to her in Fort Worth, the night before we left, she immediately, did they pray over you? And I'm like, yes, they prayed over us. Well, that was just such a gem to Julie. Okay, it was a gem. But the other part is remember, Tayler had to raise $2,800. It's a lot of money. And I want you to know, y'all did it. Y'all did it. It came in. It was crazy how easy, okay? So you raised the money. You prayed for us. You supported this child. And the funny thing is, my job, Bill kept asking me, well, where are you going? I mean, what's your purpose in going? And I really wasn't sure. Well, as it turns out, I honestly believe my purpose was Tayler Hobbs going. She had to have an adult to go with her, okay? And that was my purpose, and it was a wonderful purpose, okay? But I've seen the Lord orchestrating this for 40 years. He's been in the midst of this trip, getting us ready for this. Now, one other thing I want to share with you from Acts. It's Acts 1:8. But you will take power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea, and Samaria, and to the outermost parts of the earth. Okay? I'm going to compare Hondo, Texas to Jerusalem. Okay, that's the hometown. And I was thinking about Hank. I was thinking about Seasoned Saints. This morning, the women's shelter. I mean, y'all just continue to do mission work right here in Hondo, Texas, okay? The other thing is Honduras. That medical dental team that you send out, that's our Judea, okay? It's only, 6 hours away. But the furthest most, the outest most is this Addis Ababa, okay? You sent us out, and I'm guessing it's like 16,000 miles to Addis Ababa. Now, I want you to know that we knew you were praying for us those 10 days. It was apparent. We were never in danger. The flights were over the top smooth. We got a little stomach bug at the end, but not anything, we didn't even tell Mary Jane. And we didn't want Mama to panic. But Tayler and I are so blessed to call you home, okay, to call you home. And we are over the top excited to see what God's going to do between Hondo, Texas, and Addis Ababa.